Hello and welcome back to the table. We are talking to power couple Jewel and Reverend Ben Tankard. They tied the knot more than 2 decades ago and started a church in Tennessee shortly thereafter. Their beautiful love story filled with lots of good lessons, including some lessons that you two had to learn along the way about blending families, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about, you both brought children into the marriage.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's where ministry is birthed, right there.
Yeah,
The blended family,
lied.
because I'm a recording artist by trade. That pays the bills. What taught me how to be a pastor was having a blended family. These are members. These are different attitudes. These are different challenges.
Yeah.
This ain't my mama. This ain't my daddy. How do you resolve all that? We had to start with a whole white sheet of paper from scratch and say, God, show us how to do this.
Wow.
Yeah.
And here's the beautiful version of how you're doing it now. But let's talk a little bit more. And you had how many children?
One.
You had just the one child.
4.
4. Okay. So what happens next when you get?
So I think it really helped because we had a lot of family meetings in the beginning, and they were a lot younger. You know, we got married when Sai was 3, and his children were like between 8 and 13. And so we established that, okay, we're not going to do stepmom or stepdad. So I think that really helped.
Yeah.
And just trying to, and you know, the way they were being raised was very different. So I had to make a lot of adjustments where I wanted to see things a certain way. I had to just learn, like, let it go. Just when they come over, just make sure they know that they're loved. Because I had a lot of order and stuff like that. And they were just like, but I didn't want them to think I was like the mean one. So I had to relinquish.
And I was Disney dad.
Oh, you were that dad. Just everybody in the house.
I'm on the road their entire childhood.
Right.
So when they come over, it's like, what can I buy you?
What do you
What can we
want?
go? And with her, she's like, they got to earn this and they got to be respectful. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I've been on the road their whole life. Just let them have it. So it was a lot of that, the Disney dad thing.
Yeah.
So, no, you were about to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think when they were younger, it was easier. But when they became teens, that's when a lot of the issues started to come up where I was like, okay, how are we going to handle this? Because their biological mom maybe wants to handle it one way.
Right,
And
right.
then
Different
I wanna
parents have
handle
different
it, we want to handle it a different way. The good thing is we were in agreement for the most part on the parenting.
Yeah.
I think it was how the expression of that.
Yeah.
You know, what does that look like? So
And
I
some
mean,
compromise, right? Having to
yeah.
hear her, having to hear him in a different way, and the children.
Yeah.
So to be clear, obviously they're all grown and it's all good now.
Yeah.
But that's where the show came from.
Yeah,
We got so
that's-
good at it that Bravo says we want to make this a show.
Right.
So we were like Black Brady Bunch for 4 seasons on Bravo.
Right.
Them looking
Definitely
over our
thicker than
shoulder.
water.
Yeah, thicker than water. How to navigate through different personalities. And she's great.
She is. She absolutely is. I want to hear more about how the church comes to be in all of this. And you were at a concert a few years earlier. Next thing you know, we got a bunch of folks at the table praying together. We've got a whole church in the kitchen.
She's a prayer warrior. She prayed me out of debt, girl. You know, she prayed my schedule. She prayed the family together. Everything in our life is based on prayer. So she started a prayer meeting in our home just to gather other people in the community to show them how to pray as well. And it outgrew the living room and actually turned into a church.
Well, he actually, baby, but if you remember when we met, he said, I'm called the pastor. So I was
So
just
this was
like,
something that had been on your heart
Deep in my heart.
before.
Yeah.
My parents were ministers.
I was just going to
Yeah.
say, okay.
Most of my
Grew up in
concerts were in
church.
churches.
Yeah.
You know, and people were encouraged. I'm an instrumental artist, so you can't just play music. You just become a lounge lizard. You got to have something to say between the songs. So I came up with motivational things to say to encourage people between the
During the
songs.
show,
And
right.
then they started saying, Portia, they're saying, hey, we want you to come back, but we want you to preach more than you play. That's when I knew I was called to be a pastor, because they wanted me not to just do the jazz and the music, but to also pour into their hearts and teach them how to win in life.
Yeah.
That's how I knew I had to call.
Yeah.
And how was that transition well, it doesn't sound like it was a transition.
Well, because I came from a praying ministry out
Yeah.
of Detroit with my spiritual parents. So I knew I loved ministry. I knew I was called to ministry, but I also knew I was called to business. So being a pastor or a pastor's wife wasn't anything in my mind, but I did love Jesus. So I was like, okay, whatever he wants me to do. But I'm not traditional. He's not traditional. So it worked. I was like, as long as you don't want me to wear a big hat and them suits, we're going to be all right.
And my only time out was, God, make us rich in music and business, before this church blow up, because I don't want people thinking that we're living out of the offering bucket and treat me like they treat televangelists. I'm a 15-time Grammy, gold platinum artist. I'm live in big houses. I'm gonna drive what I want to drive. So don't put me in that pigeonhole that, oh, he's stealing from the church. That is not right. I work hard.
I want to point out too, our viewers are seeing pictures. You are a pilot. Like that wasn't just part of a lofty story.
I'm
These
a
are the
part-time
things
broker.
that you wanted.
Bought, sold, and flown over 30 airplanes. So I'm like a real estate agent for airplanes. I'll fly till I sell it.
And of course, you do work in real estate a lot in terms of empowering women too, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, so I have a whole club called the Millionaires Club, and it's where I basically teach women short and long-term wealth strategies. I want them to trust their own financial instinct, because there may be some things like Ben does real estate, but he doesn't like doing it in the inner city. I do. So I want women to always give themselves a yes. And even if their husband says no, respect his no, but respect your yes.
Right.
So we talk about everything from negotiating to doing deals, the art of the deal, the emotional intelligence it takes, everything you need to be successful.
And just even the basics too, just starting with building your own credit and being able to be independent, whether you're in a marriage or single, right?
Listen, I mean, I think everybody needs to have their own independent wealth.
Yeah.
When you don't have your own money, you're not in control.
Good point. All right, we'll pause again right there. Good conversation and some great advice. Coming up when we return, Ben and Jewel explain how to move on and move up after heartbreak. Stay with us.